Well, hello to all of our wonderful fans here at the Educated Fan. My name is Brandon. Listening to me ramble and sound confused is my best friend, your co-host, Andrew Moore. It's a bye week, baby. Colts didn't lose this week.
Colts didn't win either. But hey, we got to watch a lot more football than I normally do, at least, because I wasn't just zoned in on the Colts game.
You got to watch more football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Did you work today?
I sure did.
Man, that's a damn shame. But hey, it's a bye week. The Colts had the week off. They went over some film in the beginning of the week, did some self-scouting, and I think they're recharging and ready for the definitely the toughest stretch of the 2020 season here coming up very, very shortly throughout the month of November. But I mean, it gives us a perfect opportunity to review some things and kind of see what's going on around the league. So first of all, how was your week, man?
It was good. Went on another little trip, just like 4 weeks in a row now.
Must be nice.
Something like that. Maybe 4 out of the last 5 weeks. You know, I've gone somewhere, whether it be Indy for the Colts game, Gatlinburg, getting engaged. Now just some short trips to visit some of the fiance's future bridesmaids. But, you know, I mentioned last week that on our next episode, I was going to throw a little contest, and Andrew just had to make me dumb it down. But I will explain what that contest is at the end of this episode, so stay tuned for that. How was your week, kind sir?
Not too bad, man. Took some time off work to just kind of relax, took a mental break. The girlfriend's mom came into town, got to visit with her, and it was a good time. So it was definitely weird now that we're in the swing of things in the football season, not looking forward to a Colts game, and I definitely can't wait for next weekend against Detroit. But overall, pretty good weekend. Glad to be able to talk some Colts football and just football in general with you.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to start things off this week, as we usually do, with a little Colts chatter, except obviously there's no game to recap this week. So instead of recapping a Colts game, we're going to recap the first 6 weeks of the Colts season. Go over some different things here. And as it stands, the Indianapolis Colts are 4-2, ranked second in the AFC South, behind the Tennessee Titans, who just got their first loss today.
Yeah, so I was pretty scared there at the end. They looked like
it was
like they might pull it off.
I don't really know what happened. Gostkowski just missed, right?
Yep, he missed it at the end.
That's right. So 6 weeks in. So far, Andrew, let's start with the things you've liked about this Colts team.
Yeah, let's start with pretty much the obvious one, the defense. Defense has been outstanding. There's been at times they've had some lapses, but it seems like pretty much every game, especially in the second half, our defense is top notch. No matter who we faced, whether it was now. Jacksonville, little rough, probably. Now, while the yards and the points might not have indicated it, defense definitely didn't play their best game. But then you talk about against Minnesota, against New York, against Chicago, you definitely see the play and what we could probably consider an elite defense from those few weeks. Cleveland wasn't a great game, especially in the first half. Now in the second half, they really kicked it into gear, and we saw the defense that we were kind of used to.
Hold them to what? 3 or 6 points in the second half?
I think it was only 6 they gave up, a couple field goals. And then last week again in the first half, you give up all those points to Cincinnati, but then that defense starts kicking in, and the Colts ended on a 31-6 run, 31-7 run, something like that. So this defense is definitely better than I thought they were going to be at the very beginning of the year. I was expecting maybe a top 10 to 15 defense.
And if you listen to the show from all the way back then, that is a fact. Andrew said, I said, what do you think? I said, what do you think? Maybe top 5? Do you think top 5 is possible? And Andrew said, no, not a chance. He said, maybe top 10. Probably top 15 is what he said. And now, I mean, I believe we're still ranked number 1 in the league overall. The bye week starts to throw some weird stats and whatnot into that. But I thought overall we were number 1, at least number 1 in multiple important categories still.
At least in the top 5. We've shown we could be a top 5 caliber defense. And now when you look at the level of competition we've played so far, definitely wouldn't say top tier competition. So this defense is really going to be tested here throughout the week throughout the month of November when we play Baltimore, Tennessee twice, Green Bay. Eventually we'll have the Las Vegas Raiders.
Matt Stafford, who sometimes just decides to play like Matt Stafford, even though he's got nobody around him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's who we got next week. So the defense is going to play some pretty high quality offenses here coming up. So it'll definitely be a test, and we'll see if they can keep this going. But as far as the 6 weeks are concerned, I definitely like the defense, what they've been doing, and I think it's shown. So far we're one of the top defenses in the league. Now it's just being able to keep this going and building upon that as we move forward.
I agree. I think the biggest thing you can say you like is the defense. But I liked it. We've got a winning record.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying that. Record. I'm enjoying watching our team play 4 quarters for the most part. There's games that hasn't occurred, but I feel like our team, even back to when Peyton was here, we were a 1/2 team, and sometimes when Andrew was around, we were a 1/4 team, and that was enough sometimes. But
with Peyton's teams, we were definitely more of a complete team. There may have been
but we were a complete team, but we didn't want to play all 4 quarters.
A lot of times we didn't need to play in the 4th quarter because Peyton had the lead up to 49-13.
All right,
I'm not wrong.
I said all right.
So, but going back to the defense here, there's something I forgot to say. Those 2 games against Cleveland and against Cincinnati in the first half, you definitely noticed that Darius Leonard isn't out there. And I think that has contributed a lot to the defense not playing up to what we had seen maybe the 3 weeks prior. Now, it looks like we're going to get Darius Leonard back against Detroit here this upcoming week, which I think will be huge. I think it's really going to kind of make the defense get that juice early in the games that DeForest Buckner was talking about, because Darius really brings that. So that's something to look forward to. But like I said, if you're a Colts fan, you're pretty happy with where the defense is at right now.
You definitely have to be happy with that. You know what they say, defense wins championships, and currently our division is still up for grabs, it seems, between at least the 2 top teams.
Well, yeah, and I think Chris Ballard truly believes that as well, because when he came in here, he was talking about how he wants this team to be built not just around the quarterback. He wants this team to have a dominating defense, a fast defense that flies around the field and imposes their will on their opponent. And so far, the Colts have been doing that. I definitely think this defense, I've talked to you about this, they sure tackle a hell of a lot better, especially than the Chuck Pagano years when it seemed like every single week we talked about missed tackles. You rarely see the Colts miss tackles now. They fly around the ball, and we're creating turnovers. This is something that the Matt Eberflus scheme is built upon, and we're doing that so far this year. I think just the addition of DeForest Buckner, getting a couple more playmakers in the secondary like Xavier Rhodes, Julian Blackmon, and the continued maturity of the linebacking core, it's showing what Chris Ballard has envisioned from day one, what he wants this defense to be all about. So it's exciting for sure when you see all these young guys continuing to be in there, and the results are very promising.
I agree. So moving on from all these things we like, what are the most urgent things you see that need to improve as we move from the bye week?
I would say the running game, first of all. While the Colts are facing, and we've seen analytic sites put this out there, the Colts are facing a lot of loaded boxes right now. They are making Phillip Rivers beat them because they know the Colts want to run the ball. They're stacking it with putting 8-9 men in the box. So Jonathan Taylor really doesn't have a chance to break those out. And I think Jonathan Taylor is something that I really like. Could be go on that list too. He's really played admirable because he wasn't expected to be the lead back this early. This was supposed to be Marlon Mack. Jonathan Taylor kind of get his feet wet in the NFL and slowly bring him along to bring that 1-1 punch. And with Marlon going down week 1 with that Achilles, he's had to be the featured back, and they're putting it all on his shoulders. And I think the only rookie running back he's behind as far as like total yards is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Jonathan Taylor's been doing pretty damn good. Now, that being said, I think if we get a little bit more success in the passing game, kind of like what Phillip Rivers and the offense did last week against Cincinnati, that will definitely help alleviate things from Jonathan Taylor. Kind of he'll see those less crowded boxes, and the Colts might be able to impose their will a little bit more in the run game.
If we can keep stretching the field like we have been with Marcus Johnson lately, who has been phenomenal, that there's a possibility that you do see the run game increase a bit because of the fact that they're going to have to start pulling some people out of there.
Right.
Defenses, I mean.
And that's another thing that I kind of want to see improve, just the passing game in general, especially in third down and red zone efficiency. Against Cincinnati, that was pretty good. We were 100% on red zone efficiency, 4 for 4, and the third downs, it was well over 60%, if I remember correctly. I think it was like 7 for 11, maybe somewhere around there. And that's just winning football. I feel like I say this every week. Love the hot rod. The hot rod's on an incredible tear right now, on pace to set the single season record for scoring for a kicker. But if the Colts want to get to where they want to get, he shouldn't
for
be
a
kicking
kicker
all those
or for a
field
Colts
goals.
kicker.
For a kicker,
Yikes.
like in general. Yeah, like he's on pace for over 160 points this year, which would break the all-time scoring record. But like I said, the Colts want to score touchdowns because threes will get you beat if you're not getting 7. So
especially when you in a division where you could play the Lamar Jacksons and the Patrick Mahomeses of the league. I mean, you can't win with field goals against teams like that. Or I'll tell you what, Tennessee Titans or the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, we got 4 really, really tough teams in our conference. That we're likely to come across. We're going to come across one of those 4 teams I just talked about in the postseason if we make it.
Well, hell, we're going to come across 3 of them in the regular season.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. Just how it seems like there's a lot of good teams in the AFC right now. So like I said, those numbers need to continue to go up, and the Colts offense knows that. So if those improve, I think the offense is going to look in pretty good shape. I want to talk about the offensive line for just 1 second. I think in the running game, that's something that needs to improve. Again, I think partially it's because of all the loaded boxes. It's hard to have 5 guys block 8 or 9. But at the same time, I think as far as pass protection has gone, it's been phenomenal, especially with Anthony Costanzo in there. I'm going to take out the Cleveland game because we all know LaRaven Clark is absolute ass. With Anthony Costanzo in there, this offensive line and pass protection, Phillip Rivers has been sacked, I think, a total when they're together. I think it's like 5 or 6 times, if that. So, if they can keep that going, it'll be on pace for Phillip Rivers to be like sacked the least amount that he ever has in his 17, 18-year career. So the pass protection has been outstanding so far with these guys. It's if we can get that running game going, that opens things for Phillip Rivers. It helps get the wide receivers open, which the wide receivers outside of Marcus Johnson really haven't done too much. We'll get Michael Pittman back from injury. So I think if just that running game will open up so much more things for us. And it's kind of a back and forth. We get the running game going. If we can get the passing game going, it's going to open things up for anything else. So I think the Colts offense is on their way. It's obviously not where we want it to be, but at the same time, I think they're starting to kind of figure things out and gel a little bit more with these new pieces in place, like Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, and as we get healthier, getting Michael Pittman back and whatnot, I think we'll be able to see the offense have more success down the road.
Real quick, I don't know if this is fact, but I assume Steven Gostkowski has ruined Big Ben's life many times over the last 10 years. Big Ben's face after Steven Gostkowski missed that kick to tie up the game and go in overtime was hilarious. He says he missed it. He missed it. No way. He didn't believe it. Anyway, but I agree with you. Yeah, our offense by far. I mean, a lot of improvement needed. We'll just leave it there. Yeah. You covered pretty much anything.
And I don't think the offense is bad per se. It's just there's a lot to clean up.
It's not super effective.
Yeah, I would say that.
And I don't even know. I think the blame is to be spread there between players and coaches. Mm-hmm. I've mentioned before, I don't think Frank is using that big brain of his to the extent that he could be necessarily. Our offense needs to get more done. I mean, I'm tired of saying, "Oh, I know the numbers don't show it." Why don't we just have a big old day? I'd love to have us a big old offensive day.
You know, and last week's game could be very important in the fact that it kind of just shows that the Phillip Rivers can throw the ball down the field. Mm-hmm. It almost seems like Frank Reich, and I think we've talked about this before, last year towards the end of the year, it almost seemed like Frank was protecting Jacoby a little bit, not really giving those downfield plays, kind of making those shorter throws for Jacoby. It almost kind of seemed like he was doing that now. The offense seemed very vanilla. And in 2018, when we were humming, it wasn't vanilla. Andrew Luck was slinging it all over the field. We were running the ball great with Marlon Mack. And I think that's kind of what we need to get back to is Phillip Rivers, well, he's not the Phillip Rivers of old. He's still a decent quarterback in this league. And I think you can let him go. You can let him rip him down the field. You can open it up for some bigger plays or some to scheme open players such as like a T.Y. Hilton, who definitely needs to get more involved. Marcus Johnson ascending. Once we get Michael Pittman back, being able to use his leaping ability and his catch radius. Just open the playbook and not be so vanilla. I think that'll help open things up as well. We don't need to have training wheels on Phillip Rivers right now. I think maybe Frank, he always said that Phillip still has it, but it's almost like Phillip going out there and having that big performance. It kind of shows it. Like, he can do this. I mean, he outthrew Marcus Johnson on a deep ball that was 55, 60 yards down the field. He can still sling it if he has to. Maybe not with the same velocity, but he can still get it where it needs to go. So let's open up the playbook a little bit more and start maybe being a little bit more aggressive and not kind of making it so that box is so tight that all we can do is these quick little throws. So I don't know. I think that's something that Frank is considering. It's probably something they saw this week in the self-scouting, and we can hope that that's true and this offense improves going down the road.
Yeah, and you make a good point there. That, you know, Phil showed it, and we talked earlier, I don't know, last week before about Phil struggling to get the ball outside the numbers, but then he's still good for at least a few balls down the field. Maybe that, I don't even think he mentioned that, you know, maybe he just doesn't have the velocity behind it, but he can still get it down the field. Mm-hmm. Just an interesting thought you put into my head there. But let's move along to some awards so far for our team this season. Let's start with offensive MVP. Here is who I had, Andrew, because I struggled. I'm really down on this offense right now. So this felt forced. I put Mo Alley Cox.
That's a good pick.
That's the best I could come up with. I was going to say maybe the offensive line, but because you made a good point. I mean, Phillip Rivers is one of the most protected quarterbacks in the league thus far this year. I heard a stat this year. I thought he was like the least pressured quarterback, least QB pressures this year so far. Mm-hmm. So, but I didn't want to pick the line. So Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, he's definitely ascended, and when he does come back from his knee injury, the Colts do need to make sure he is involved. I'm going to go Phillip Rivers, and this is why. It's not necessarily that he has been outstanding every single game, but he is the most valuable player to this Colts offense because when he plays well, the Colts win. The 2 losses the Colts have had this year, those have been Phil's 2 worst games. So it's incredibly, that's what it is, valuable. He's incredibly valuable to this offense. And if he plays well and he can stay within the means of the offense and not be the boneheaded Phillip Rivers that we've seen, Colts win. Colts have a pretty efficient offense and they're able to get the job done. When Phillip makes those boneheaded plays, like against Jacksonville, like against Cleveland, it's hard for the Colts to really do anything. So that's what I'm going to say, because it's really, this offense is focused. While we want to run the ball, we have a great offensive line. So far, it's come down to how Phillip Rivers has played. So that's who I'm going with. Really, the offense as a whole, there's not really one specific player that stands out to me as having a great year, maybe outside of, like you said, Mo Alley Cox or maybe Jonathan Taylor. But as far as valuable and this Colts offense will go as far as Phillip Rivers takes them.
I agree. I'll let you go first here. Defensive MVP for the Colts so far this year.
So defensive MVP, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I think it's DeForest Buckner, because
thank you.
Just because DeForest Buckner, I mean, he doesn't have the most sacks on the team, but he has absolutely changed the culture of this defense. He's you can see in his play, he takes up all these double teams and lets the guys go one-on-one. He forces the quarterbacks into making quick and bad decisions, which has led to interceptions by Xavier Rhodes and Kenny Moore.
Causes pressure up the middle. Quarterbacks
Julian
hate
Blackmon.
Pressure up the middle, especially pocket passers.
Exactly. So, and I've said this, I think, too many times to count. The way he has just changed the culture of this entire defense, like Quentin Nelson did for the defensive line, it has been absolutely amazing and really a joy to watch. So, and I think he's just going to get better, because as this defensive line gels, as we get Kemoko Turay back from injury, that's another weapon to have on the outside. We're going to see this defensive line, I think, even have more success and really get home on the quarterbacks a lot more, hopefully as the season goes on as well.
I had Buckner as well. I think he's a big part of this run defense as well, which is one of the top in the NFL. So pretty obvious when you watch the highlights. You know, like you said, he's not going to show up on the stat sheet as much, but he's causing problems for offensive lines. Rookie of the year. I'm going to let you go first on this one too, because I'm interested to see if you pick the same one as me.
Man, it's tough. I had 2 that you can really either one, but I'll go Julian Blackmon so I can because if you pick the other one, I'll let you have your guy. But I'm picking Julian Blackmon. The kid is literally less than a year off from an ACL tear, and he's just come in and absolutely produced. He's proven to be a playmaker. Another absolute gem that Chris Ballard mined up in the 3rd round. There's a tweet that keeps getting put out there from back in April when the Colts selected him. Some guy, probably from Bleacher Report, because Bleacher Report sucks, said that Chris Ballard and the Colts took the least or the worst Utah safety, and he's hurt. Now Julian Blackmon is going out there and making a case for defensive rookie in the year with 2 picks and multiple pass deflections and just being an absolute stud in the back end.
Which could get Chris Ballard 2 defensive rookie of the year picks in 3-4 years? In the 3rd round.
It would be 3 years. Now, Darius was in the 2nd.
Was he 2nd?
Darius was in the 2nd round, yes.
Okay.
But Bleacher Report still said that Darius Leonard was the worst pick of the draft after the draft, and look how that turned out.
I think they might have said worse than just that draft. I thought they called it worse than that, like worst pick in the last. Was it longer? Did they not ever? But
I don't know. I think they said worst pick in just that draft.
Maybe. Either way, wrong.
So, I can't wait to see Julian Blackmon. He's just going to continue to get better, and Chris Ballard said this kid's a legitimate free safety in the league. Certainly has proven it so far. The other one, I'll let you pick yours, and then I'll say who.
Well, I also picked Julian Blackmon, and he's the only one on my list for this one here. He's the number 1 rated rookie safety in the league, and he's also in the top 10 overall.
In Pro Football Focus?
I believe so.
Yeah, I saw that too. Isn't
number
that
10
wild?
overall.
This kid,
I don't even know what number. I just saw in the top 10.
I think he's 10th. He's got like a 74
That's fine.
rating or something. This kid's he's only played 5 games. He missed the opener. He still wasn't ready for the openers. He's
Right.
5 games into his rookie year, and he's making these plays. It's outstanding. I thought you were going to say your boy, the hot rod, because
I didn't even, you know what? I didn't even think about it. That's a good
because dude, I don't know about you, but as of right now, I'm no longer worried about when us missing kicks like I was every single kick last year. It was, well, are we going to just fingers crossed, hope to God he makes it.
My pessimism is still flowing pretty hard. I'm still pretty nervous every single kick. I'm still having flashbacks.
I think I mean he's just going to continue to get better too. He's only missed 2 kicks this year. He's perfect on extra points. So let's keep it rolling, Rodrigo.
I believe up until probably this week, he was the number 1 fantasy kicker in the league as well. Just
very definitely, I probably say so.
The bye week probably put him behind a bit, but
yeah,
good for him. So the biggest surprise this year, I've got a few written down, but we can just say overall, and I think we'll both agree, the defense is probably the biggest surprise of this season. And then maybe Blackmon being a more specific answer, or, hey, Xavier Rhodes. I don't think Buckner was a shock. So, Blackmon being a rookie, that's a bit, always a good surprise. And Rhodes, you and I both said there's a chance that this could have been a bad move and that he could really, be on the downside of his career.
You literally took all 3 of my answers. I was going to start out with Julian Blackmon. Julian Blackmon as being the biggest surprise, just because, first of all, we didn't even think he would be ready till October, let alone having this kind of impact. I'm certainly was surprised by the defense, because I said they'd be maybe top 15 in the league, and I'd be good with that. And here they are so far, top 5. And Xavier Rhodes, the gamble so far has paid off for Chris Ballard. He saw a guy that was motivated. He saw a guy that knew that just only a few years ago was one of the top cornerbacks in this league, and just a change of cities, a change of defensive schemes, where he no longer has to follow around the best receiver all around the field. He can sit back in that zone coverage more often and use his skill, use his mind to make plays and kind of read the quarterback, and it's paid off. So hopefully Xavier Rhodes can get back, or can keep this going, and who knows, maybe it'll lead to a second contract with the Colts.
Well, since I stole all your biggest surprises, I'll go ahead and let you tell me what your biggest disappointment is of the season so far.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but it's T.Y. Hilton. I mean, it's gotta be the ghost. Yeah, I hate saying it, but the
ghost is a ghost on the field right now.
Yeah, I mean, last week he had, now granted, last week's a bad example because he was getting thrown and twisted all around the field. The refs were terrible, missing calls, but he only had 1 catch last week, and he hasn't been over 100 yards receiving since Andrew Luck was the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. So this is a contract year for T.Y. There's no guarantee that T.Y. Hilton is suiting up for Indianapolis next year. And that's hard to say, and it's hard to think about, because T.Y. Hilton is so beloved and has been so beloved for some time now. But man, we haven't seen anything from T.Y. Hilton this year, and it sucks.
Except for the one game where, I don't even remember, was it against the Bengals? It felt like he was moving the chains a lot. Or maybe
the Bengals, he only had 1 catch.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's right.
It was, I mean, against Cleveland, he had quite a few. He had some catches,
and Frank Reich tried turning it into, oh no, T.Y. had a great game, 1 catch for 11 yards. It was phenomenal.
But at the same time, there were some catches where he had that touchdown pass that got called back.
Right.
He had some where there were a couple big pass interference calls that's hidden yardage you don't see. I mean, T.Y. Hilton leads the league in pass interference yardage. So,
right.
You've said it. The ghost has been a ghost so far, and I hope that changes, because it could mean he's not back next year.
So my biggest disappointment of the year is Phillip Rivers, and I'm fine saying that, and that's the cliche answer, or the offense overall, you could say. But listen, when we signed Phillip Rivers, I thought Phillip Rivers really did still have it, and I wanted to blame last year's woes mostly on his offensive line. At the end of the day, he no longer has an offensive line as the excuse. We mentioned earlier that, he's one of the least pressured, if not the least pressured quarterback in the league. And he's not putting up the numbers that I would have thought, a Phillip Rivers with all the time in the world, it seems sometimes, would be putting up. And most of that, some of it's decision-making, some of it's drops. But at the end of the day, I expected better things out of Phillip Rivers this year. And he's not having the worst year of football by a quarterback. You even would say that he's the most important player on our offense still. So I don't want to say I don't have faith in Phillip Rivers anymore, but I had more faith in Phillip Rivers going into the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. I think maybe your expectations for him were definitely a little higher than mine. I didn't think he was going to come in here and light it up. I was just expecting him to be maybe
I don't remember watching him last year thinking, look at that noodle arm. And there's been times this year where I thought, look at that noodle arm. I mean, maybe,
fair point.
I don't know. It's just, I had higher expectations than he is living up to right now. I didn't have Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning expectations, but I had, hey, you're a really smart quarterback behind one of the best offensive lines in the league expectations. So, that's it for our little midseason awards here. Injuries. Darius Leonard, Michael Pittman Jr., Mo Alley-Cox, Kemoko Turay could all return after the bye. Turay, I think, is on the lowest of possibilities there. But I think Reich said this week that there's a good chance we could get all these guys back.
Yeah, there is a chance. I think Darius Leonard definitely will play. Pittman is more up in the air, but he was able to run last week, so it looks like he should be good. And he's on pace to return against Detroit. You are correct in that Kemoko Turay. They're not saying he will be ready. There's a chance, but we'll just have to wait and see. I did put out a poll on Twitter this week to kind of see what the listeners thought, saying which of those four Colts players, Darius Leonard, Michael Pittman, Mo Alley-Cox, and Kemoko Turay, which one was going to make the biggest impact? And look at our listeners. They're becoming educated. It was overwhelmingly 60% said Darius Leonard, and I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, Darius Leonard, you've seen the defense hasn't been up to par with how it was the first 4 weeks with Darius Leonard out there. Now, we do have two solid linebackers in Anthony Walker, Bobby Okereke, but Darius Leonard's one of the best defensive players in the NFL, just point blank. So getting him back is going to just put our defense back at that top elite level, I think. And I can't wait to see the Maniac back on the field.
I agree with that, and I believe I was one of the voters. I definitely put Darius Leonard. There were some comments on that tweet, too. There were some responses, a little conversation going on in there. Some other Colts news. Colts signed defensive end Cassius Marsh and safety Abraham Campbell to the practice squad. Welcome back, sir. Hello, Abraham Campbell. That guy, it's like he's like a pair of underwear. Put him on, wear him for a day, take him off, wash him, put him right back on.
well, look who was released this week from the practice squad as well.
Released cornerback Christian Angelo. He's the dirty underwear of the week. Expect to see him cleaned and signed again next week. All right, that's it for the Colts this week. We'll be back Wednesday to preview our game against the Lions, but let's move it along to some season recap for the NFL, and we will try to move this along here. Let's start talking about the divisions, and why don't we just go ahead and start with the AFC South. Currently in the AFC South, we have the Tennessee Titans leading at 5-1, 2-0 in the division. The Colts are 4-2, 0-1 in the division. That loss to the Jaguars could bite us in the ass.
Still the only team to lose to Jacksonville.
Still the Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-5. They have now lost 5 in a row, 1-2 in the division. So we're the only team in the division that lost to them. so far this year. And then the Houston Dumpster Fire Texans are 1-6.
It's going to be a two-horse race. It's going to be Tennessee and Indianapolis, and when they play twice within a 17-day span. So those two games very well could decide the division. Well, it's going to be interesting.
All right. Who do we got next, Andrew? The AFC West. So, obviously, you would have guessed that the Kansas City Chiefs would be leading that division with one loss to the second-place team in the AFC West, the Las Vegas Raiders. Kansas City 6-1. They look to be still real good with a little letdown game against the Raiders. The Raiders, though, a strong 3-3 team. Look for them to be making a push for a wild card spot. John Gruden seems to have them rolling. They did have a tough game today against a really good team that they barely lost. So I guess actually it probably ended up being, I think, 15 points, but it was close up until the end. Broncos 2-4. They look pretty bad this week. Real good last week against the Pats, so who knows? Andy 2-4. Are these updated through today's games? These records I'm giving?
2-4 sounds about right.
They just won. Maybe this needs refreshed. There we go. 2-4. Haha, refresh. The power of refresh. Justin Herbert looks real good. The poor Los Angeles Chargers can't seem to win a close game, but they did it today against the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2-4 for what looks to be third in the division.
They've got the quarterback in place. Now it's just time to get the things around him. He's got hell of a weapons. Keenan Allen, he's got Hunter Henry. It's time to get the offensive line fixed in Los Angeles if you're the Chargers. And if that gets fixed, boy, you're going to be set up with one hell of an offense with Justin Herbert. He's going to be special.
It's also time to get the offensive line fixed if you are the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC North. But we'll start with the 6-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Thanks to them getting the work done against Tennessee today, but now we need them to lose some games. That would be wonderful. Pittsburgh Steelers 6-0. They look real good on both sides of the ball. Baltimore Ravens, a little hiccup once this year against the Kansas City Chiefs. Understandable. They're a very good football team at 5-1. Cleveland Browns, who mollywopped us and then just have seemed to fall apart since then, barely beating the Bengals today. Did not cover. I repeat, did not cover. Pissed me off. Literally a field goal lost me an extra point lost me $50 today. So that's awesome. They're 5-2. That's a real strong division.
Well, the Bills not covering today lost me about $2,000 that I could have won. So I'm just going to go.
Is that the only loss on that parlay?
It's the only loss on my parlay.
So far, or that's it? Was that the last one?
So far, I had Seattle covering tonight too, but that doesn't matter now. But yeah,
I've got this wonderful little teaser parlay that Pat McAfee has a special on FanDuel that I just need. I believe all I need is for the Cardinals tonight to cover plus 9.5. The Bills covered 5.5. So I'm on pace to win that one. Cincinnati's bad. Joe Burrow, poor guy. I mean, an offensive lineman today got a false start and he just lost his shit. I think he's gonna crack. I think we're a post-game press conference, and maybe it was today. We're a post-game press conference away from him just absolutely losing his shit.
I don't think Joe Burrow would do that. I do think, though, that Cincinnati better get a line around him. Otherwise, we're going to have Andrew Luck 2.0, where this kid's just going to not be able to play football anymore because he just gets hurt because he's not protected. So they better get that sorted out this offseason and fast.
So the Buffalo Bills on top of the AFC East get things back together today against the Jets, kind of. They're 5-2. In second, outright second place, the Miami Dolphins at 3-3. I think they've won as many games as Andrew predicted they would all season already, so that's good for them. Patriots look bad the last 2 weeks, just bad. They're 2-4. The Jets are number 1 in the NFL. The New York Jets are number 1 in the NFL in the chase for Trevor Lawrence at 0-7.
Hey, Greeny brought up a good point this week on Get Up. If you're Trevor Lawrence and the Jets have the number 1 pick, do you stay at Clemson for another year?
Only not if they fire Adam Gase.
Do you stay at Clemson? I mean, I think Peyton Manning did that. I think Peyton Manning, whoever he could have came out and he stayed because he didn't want to go whoever had the number 1 pick. And look what happened. Colts got him. So, hey.
I mean, you want to play in New York, though, right?
Do you?
You want to be one of the guys in New York, I feel like. Especially Trevor Lawrence being the guy in New York. No, I don't know. You either do that or you pull the Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Some people thought Joe Burrow might do it this year. At the end of the day, when you're the guy coming out of college, you're going to the shittiest team in the NFL. That's just how it works.
There's a difference going to a terrible team that has terrible ownership and is terribly run than going to a team that maybe just had a down year, like when the Colts drafted Peyton Manning, they had Bill Polian in place to kind of lead the team. He's one of the best GMs in the league. Kind of same thing. I mean, that's probably the closest thing that I can go off of. So we'll see. I don't think he'll do that. But
it's bad. If Gary V buys the team magically this year, then I go to the Jets for sure. But yeah, it's a tough place to be trying to go right now. NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are leading that division at 5-2 with a close trailing New Orleans Saints with a win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 4-2. Carolina Panthers get Andrew again this week. They're 3-4. He just can't seem to pick a single one of their games right. And the Atlanta Falcons.
The Saints this week. I did pick the Saints this week, and the Saints won.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we split games this week, didn't we?
2.
Yeah.
Well, we split.
Well, we disagreed on 2, and I think we split those. I think I got 1, you got 1. Anyway, Atlanta Falcons 1-6. You guys know they, tossed their head coach already. Moving on to the NFC West, the Seattle Seahawks lead that division. Best team in football right now, in my opinion, 5-0. Maybe not in football, but they're up there.
My MVP pick is looking real good. Real good. Russell Wilson.
Real good. We'll see tonight, too, against a pretty decent defense in the Arizona Cardinals, who happen to be in second in this division at 4-2, followed by the Los Angeles Rams at 4-2, and the San Francisco 49ers just a couple weeks ago were 2-3, and now they're 4-3. So look out for them. When Jimmy G had that one tough game when he came back a little too early from his injury, and now he seems to be playing just fine.
NFC West is probably the best division in football.
I do believe I predicted that in the beginning of the season that the NFC West would be the best division in football. I said, I believe I said, there's a chance every team in the NFC West could make the playoffs. I think I said that.
Good for you.
Just saying. NFC North, moving along to the Chicago Bears somehow are technically in the lead in that division. Andrew and I were just talking about that before we started recording. 5-1, Packers 5-1. They're 2-0 in the division. The Bears are 1-0. I don't know. The Bears play tomorrow. That's probably why. Detroit Lions 3-3, 0-2 in the division, and the Minnesota Vikings. I just think everybody on that team thinks they're guaranteed another year. A lot of contract signings. Coach was signed to another contract. GM. Kirk Cousins has got a whole nother year, couple of years. I just think everybody there's like, next year.
There doesn't seem like a lot of urgency on that team. I don't know. It doesn't seem they were selling their players this week for bargains. So we'll talk about that in a second here. But it's just, I don't know. It's a weird situation in Minnesota.
So let's move it along to appropriate that they're at the bottom. NFC Least, or the NFC East as they're officially called. The Philadelphia Eagles are your outright leaders at 2-4-1. The Washington Football Team, your second place team at 2-5. They just mollywopped the Dallas Cowboys today, who are in third place at 2-5, and the New York Giants are the ugliest 1-6 team in the league.
What a god-awful division. And one of these teams
They're
will
so
be
bad.
hosting a playoff game.
This is so, and Florio talks about this, right? The NFL is not a proactive organization. The NFL is a very reactive organization, and I think it's going to take a 6-10 team making the playoffs and getting to host a game before the NFL goes, all right, time to change this really shitty rule.
You never know. It definitely doesn't seem fair. It definitely, I think the division winners should make it, but division winners shouldn't automatically be able to host a playoff game.
Correct.
I think the four best records should host a playoff game, and you just go from there.
Correct. I agree with that 100%. Or there was an interesting theory about knocking down the amount of divisions again. Adding, like 3 divisions per, but then there's an uneven amount of teams in the divisions, and that's not really fair either. But, I mean, they did it all the way up until, I think, 2002. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
I think the divisions are good how they are. I think it'd be just easier to say, like, hey, if you got a worse record than the best wildcard team, you're not hosting a playoff game. So
I like that. And it makes teams play for something a little longer, too.
Right.
Let's move along here. Games around the league. And some NFL news, and I'm yawning, and I'm sorry, and that's unprofessional. All right, here we go. That's why it's a podcast and not a news channel. So the Eagles beat the Giants in it looked like the world's worst football game, and then it was an entertaining football game, 22-21. Lions beat. Go ahead. Do you have something to say about that?
Wait. We got to talk about Daniel Jones tripping over a ladybug on his 90-yard run. God.
And Troy Aikman says, the turf monster jumped up and got him there. Dude, hilarious. If he scores that touchdown, nobody's making fun of him. But at the end of the day, they scored a touchdown, like right after that. So it worked out. And he ran some ridiculous speed for 80 yards. I think he ran over 20 miles an hour, which was like Derrick Henry speed.
So he ran 21 point something miles per hour. They've been tracking it, and
his arms just got pumping faster than 21 miles an hour.
His top speed is faster than any speed Lamar Jackson has run this year. That boy was cooking down the field. His legs just couldn't keep up, and he went down. That's just absurd.
It was so bad. Troy Aikman saying the turf monster jumped up and grabbed him there just killed me. Lions beat the Falcons today in a nail-biter 23-22. Thank you. Bills.
Last second touchdown.
Bills field goal the Jets to death 18-10. The Bills have got to figure something out. Their offense
don't look good.
Their offense is struggling.
They looked good for the first 3 weeks, and the past 3 weeks have just been absolute garbage. So they're not as good as, you know what? Miami might come and win this division. That'd be freaking wild.
Could.
Tua just goes on a run. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. Tua's starting now, too, by the way. The Browns can't cover 3.5 points against the Bengals, but they won by 3 because they missed an extra point at the very end of the game. 37.
Hate to see it.
34. Browns. Washington beats the snot out of the Cowboys. There's no way that you typed this correctly.
No.
It's 25-3. Okay. I was like, dude, that's a lot of garbage points. 25-3. Washington just mollywops the Cowboys. Andy Dalton almost died. And his offensive line didn't do a thing about it.
If that was the Colts and that late hit would have happened on Phillip Rivers, Big Q would probably be facing a 4 to 6.
It wasn't a late hit. Did you see the hit?
I did see the hit.
It wasn't late. It was sliding. Oh, I guess technically you call late hit, but he took Andy Dalton's head off.
Yeah. And if I saw Robert Mathis tweet this, but he said Big Q would probably have a 4 to 6 game suspension for destroying that guy, not putting up with that. So I think that just kind of speaks to the culture in Dallas. It's not a good locker room to be in right now. This isn't Madden. This isn't fantasy football. You can't just put a bunch of guys that have a lot of talent together. There's got to be a culture established. There's got to be leadership within that locker room if you want success. And when you don't have that, you have the Dallas Cowboys.
Aaron Rodgers not only laughing because he won 35-20 against the Texans today, but he's got to be laughing at Mike. I know he says he's friends with Mike McCarthy, blah, blah, blah. He's just got to be like looking at the rest of the league going like, I told you I wasn't the problem. Like I told you that guy had to go. So I just covered the Packers. You see what I did there? Saints 27 over the Panthers 24. That was a close one. Steelers beat the Titans. We talked about that, 27-24. Same exact
Thank
score.
God.
Interesting. Chiefs dominate the Broncos today, 43-16. Patrick Mahomes almost didn't throw a touchdown pass.
He didn't need to.
He didn't need to. He didn't throw a touchdown pass, I don't think, until the fourth quarter.
The Chiefs are such a all-around team that they're able to take care of teams, even if Patrick Mahomes isn't throwing for 350 and 3 tuds every game.
I didn't get to watch that game closely. Did Le'Veon do anything today?
He may
saw
have
him run
had
the ball
a couple
once.
Runs here and there, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
49ers dominate the Patriots 33-6.
Cam Newton got pulled, so
it was the fourth quarter. There's
might
not.
be a
There's,
QB
there's no
controversy.
quarterback controversy in New England. Bill
Cam
Belichick, I just saw a highlight. Bill Belichick walking over, patting him on the leg, like, hey, all good. We'll get him next week kind of thing. It looked like. Can't wait to listen to the Bill Belichick post-game interview. That's one I'm going to be looking up this week. Chargers 39, Jaguars 29. Thank you, Chargers. I'm going to win a lot of money this week, in part to the Chargers. Buccaneers 45-2, Raiders 20. They get that win in John Gruden's return to Tampa.
Buccaneers, it was in Las Vegas, but
John Gruden's first game against Tampa since returning to coaching.
There you go. Buccaneers look real good, man. They're starting to hit it, so it's going to be scary.
Other news around the league, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa named the starter over Ryan Fitzpatrick for the rest of the season for God knows what reason. Ryan Fitzpatrick 3-3.
Right, yeah. He was
looking good too.
Good.
Looking good too.
You hate his press conference when he said he was just heartbroken and his heart hurt all day. Man, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a good guy. That sucks for him.
Did you know he went to Harvard?
I did. He's very smart.
So he went to Harvard.
He did.
Okay. Tyler talked to our boy Tyler this week about the Dolphins, and he is a fan of this move, although he knows and is happy that Mr. Fitzpatrick has been having a good year so far. He's a little he just knows Tua is the future, and maybe this was just when they had it set. After the bye week, this is when he's coming in.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's Tua time. So let's see if the Dolphins can keep it rolling.
Yep, Buccaneers sign other big news. Buccaneers sign wide receiver Antonio Brown. Ever heard of him? To a 1-year deal. I just saw Florio reporting on this on Sunday Night Football, and it said reportedly signed Antonio Brown over the weekend. What's that mean?
It means it's not finalized yet.
Got it.
They're finalizing the contract. Basically the language within the contract.
Sure.
They're probably putting in a bunch of stuff saying like, if you get in trouble, like you're done, we can void this entire thing. But it does look like Antonio Brown will be a Buccaneer and will be available to play week 9 once his 8-week suspension is done. So and Tom Brady was a big proponent behind this. He really wanted to get AB into Tampa. So we'll see if it pans out or if crazy AB is going to ruin that team.
I was quicker than all the old people in my family league, but I was not quicker than everybody, specifically Billy, in our fantasy football league this week to pick up Antonio Brown, Andrew. Minnesota Vikings trade defensive end Yannick Ngakou. Haven't we talked about this already? Didn't he already get? No, he went to the Vikings earlier this year. That's right. And now he's on his way out of the Vikings to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2021 third-round pick and a 2022 conditional fifth-round pick. Hilarious.
So we talked about that Yannick Ngakou being traded means that the Colts would only have to play him once this year since he wasn't the AFC South. Well, now he goes to Baltimore and the Colts will have to face him once again. So we still play Yannick Ngakou twice this year.
Tough.
But the Ravens defensive line just gets much better with already a good defensive line, and really for a third round and a fifth round pick, that's hardly anything. So good move by them, I guess.
Hilarious. LSU, if you guys remember, is banning Odell Beckham Jr. from its facilities for 2 years after he gives out $2,000 worth of $100 bills at last year's national championship versus Clemson.
I was just letting
celebrating.
It flow.
Hilarious.
Man. Oh, that's funny.
Raiders tackle Trent Brown was placed on the COVID list this week, causing John Gruden to send home all 5 of his starting. By the way, this was ordered by the NFL, not just John Gruden, but sending all 5 of his starting offensive linemen home as a precaution. Rest of the offensive line later cleared of the COVID list Saturday.
Yeah, I put this in here because it kind of just shows how, like, what if this happened to the Colts? Say Ryan Kelly or Quentin Nelson came down with COVID. All those guys are in such close contact with one another. So that could mean that they're like, this could happen to any team where you're without your starting offensive line for a game if they catch COVID. So it's something to think about and something that could really wreck a team.
For sure. NFL fines Tennessee Titans. Oh, I haven't seen this yet. NFL fines Tennessee Titans $350,000 for the COVID protocol violations, no loss of draft picks or forfeiture of games. Everybody's talking about the Tennessee Titans are about to get hammered. $350,000? Their owner probably wipes his ass with $350,000.
I think the fine for just a head coach not wearing it on the sidelines was like $100,000. So
bullshit.
I figured you'd be pretty upset about this one. They got a slap on the wrist, it seems like. Well,
they got a guy walking around with the Raiders with no tracker on. This Trent Brown guy, he's probably not going to get in any trouble. Tennessee, they go off in practice when they've been told not to have any team activities outside of practice. And they weren't supposed to be at the facilities, so yeah, I'm not happy about it. We did skip a little segment I wanted to add on to the state of the league here in reference to the AFC and the NFC. Andrew, I will let you go first, and I will let you pick between AFC or NFC. Let's go ahead and list off your top 3 teams in each conference.
Okay, I'll take the AFC. So I think the top 3 teams, you think it's Kansas City, the defending Super Bowl champions, Pittsburgh, the lone undefeated team in the AFC, and then I think it's the Baltimore Ravens with the reigning league MVP in Lamar Jackson. I think those 3 teams are definitely the teams to beat in the AFC, and I think Tennessee is right behind them. Tennessee's got a really good team. Looks like Derrick Henry is clicking on all cylinders. They're very well coached.
He soared today.
Yeah. They're those 4 teams, and I think the Colts are probably in that second tier, and I think they can try to compete with Tennessee. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. But we play Baltimore and Tennessee here coming up soon, and Pittsburgh later in the year. Some tough challenges, but I think it'll show whether this Colts team is made for it or not.
Greg Olsen almost got a touchdown.
Did that?
Got a leg out of bounds. Got one foot in. Got a leg out of bounds. That would have helped me out. I need Russell Wilson to have a phenomenal night while Tyler Lockett does absolutely nothing, which is a tricky situation to be in. I have those same 3 teams, Andrew, in the AFC. I do have Pittsburgh first, just out of respect, I think, for that undefeated record. They look like a really, really well-rounded team. And while they played down to the competition early in the season, these last 2 games, even though they only won by 3 today, they've looked good. Kansas City, obviously, in there, and then Baltimore, and I agree, Tennessee is on all 3 of those teams' heels, and they showed that today with a competitive showing against Pittsburgh. The NFC, I think we probably have the same order here even. Now, the only problem I have with the Seahawks is they are not well-rounded. They're 5-0, but their defense is not good. It could be better. We'll say their defense could be better, especially the secondary. Then I've got Green Bay, followed by Tampa Bay. I really didn't want to say Tampa Bay, but I was looking through the NFC. I'm like, there's nobody else. Tampa Bay might be the most well-rounded team in the NFC.
So right now, I'd probably go Seattle. I think their defense will get better when Jamal Adams comes back. I think he's a pretty big key in their defense. I'll have them at 1. I put Tampa Bay ahead of Green Bay, though.
Year?
What's up?
Is he going to be back this year, Jamal Adams?
Yeah, I think he's only got a groin strain or whatever. But I put Tampa Bay ahead of Green Bay simply because they destroyed Green Bay last week, and I think they are a very well-rounded team.
Come on.
They absolutely destroyed Green Bay.
Come on. Destroyed?
I mean, they beat them by 28.
Yeah, but those are rookie numbers. Got to get those up.
That's a mollywhopping.
I mean, you could tell. You could tell that was an off night for Aaron Rodgers.
It doesn't matter. It wasn't an off night for Tom Brady. That's for sure.
Okay, well, the week before that, Tom Brady didn't even know what down it was against the Chicago Bears, who we beat. So we're better than Green Bay and Tampa Bay. I guess next weekend we got a chance to prove that.
All right. But I'll have them second, and then I do have Green Bay third. Aaron Rodgers is on a tear, and I don't think they're too far behind Tampa Bay, but I do put them at number 3.
All right. That's fun. That's fair. That's good. All right, everybody. So the contest, as we wrap up here, here's what we need you to do. We need you to, Andrew made me dumb it down. I was going to make you go like and share and retweet whatever our episode post this week on all of our social media, including Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. But Andrew insists that not everybody's able to do that because they don't have all the social media. So what you need to do is you need to like, you need to share, and you need to comment on at least our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter episode post this week. And we will take all the people who do this, put your name in a hat, and draw for, I was going to give you a Starbucks gift card. I decided, hell, I'll just send you via Venmo or Cash App $10. $10 to share our stuff. That's it. That easy.
Literally will take you 10 seconds to do all that.
And
you can
for
$10.
You could make $1 a second. That's good pay. That's $60 an hour.
Good math.
That's $60 a minute. That's $60 a minute.
So $60 a minute.
That's fat cash.
Minutes.
Yeah, I'm not. What's 60 times 60? $240 an hour? Pretty good.
No, not at all.
What? 6 times. What's 6 times 6? 36. 360. Math's hard. Dude, I stopped doing math. That's why I dropped out of fucking engineering. Okay, I was done with math. Did it my whole life.
Anyways, go, if you comment, if you like, and you share our post on any of our social medias. If you do all 3 on one social media platform, you're entered to win $10. Just do it.
And I can tell you where to do that. That's at the Eh-Ducated Fan. That's at TheEhDucatedFan. Good luck, everybody. Preview for next week coming on Thursday, as per usual. Have a wonderful week. Go Colts.
Go Colts. Peace.